go live button. Now I think we're live. All right, YouTube likes to take a little bit to actually get things going. Now we should be live for the Steelers Depot live stream here on Monday, September 28th. Let me go ahead and pull up the stream on my end, and then we can begin answering your guys' questions for the day. As always, we are here until 8 p.m. Eastern time, right before kickoff for the Monday night game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. Dave, how you doing? In chat, let us know if you can hear myself and can hear Dave.
Yeah, happy Monday, everybody. Am I coming in loud and clear?
I sure hope so. Again, let me know, chat, if there's any sort of issues with audio or video. I think we're okay. And once we check that, we'll begin answering your guys' questions.
One of these days, you're gonna get that thing down.
Well, it should be good. I'm just making sure, just to make sure, just to get that out of the way, and then we can start. But everyone says that we sound good, so we are good to go. All right, thank you guys for being here in the chat today. We got a lot of people here. I appreciate it. Let's start answering your guys' questions because I'm sure we will get a lot. You can also send a super chat if you want to have your question guaranteed to be answered. These chats have really grown, and I certainly appreciate that. But does mean we can't always get to every single question. So super chats will guarantee your question will be answered. And today we start off with Zachary Prospa, who says, of these three players, which would you currently put the franchise tag on based on 2020 production and value to the team? Juju, Connor, or Hilton? Thanks, guys. Dave, you had to put the tag on one of them. I'm sure your answer might be nobody, but Juju, Connor, Hilton, who would you tag?
If I had the room to and only had one tag, that's look, Juju's having a fantastic season. Mike Hilton is as well. Connor is the easy one to scratch off the list.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows my thoughts on running backs and fungibility and all like that. Man, that's a tough one. I think the staying power, Juju being a little bit younger, and having less kind of wear and tear on him. I don't want to say that Mike Hilton won't be able to sustain what he's doing and has done for a long period of time. But obviously, if you're going to franchise tag somebody, it's with the understanding that you would like to get a long-term deal worked out with them. And I think that would be best suited for Juju if I was given the choice on all that.
Yeah, as you said, Connor's the easy answer to throw out, as well as he's run so far, just his own injury history and the value or lack of value at running back compared to receiver or nickel corner, which is essentially a starting DB spot in today's NFL and certainly in the Steelers scheme. I would lean Juju, but Hilton is certainly not a guy I want to lose, especially with the way he's playing right now. But I just think overall Juju is the best player of the three, and so my answer would be Juju.
Yeah, and that's not me slighting Mike Hilton, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just you told me I had a choice. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to work out that way. Obviously, I'd like to see both of them retained. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see.
ODG Dorkman says, I was so looking forward to this, I prepared my question during the game. Thank you, ODG Dorkman. That's very advanced of you. He asked, this is a question for you, Dave. How many times is the draw a successful run on 2nd and 19? Would the running back have to get 7.6 yards?
A successful run in any situation, even if you're 2nd and 99, they term it as a 6-yard play, 6-yard run. Okay, so even if it's and that's the rare instance too. Normally a successful run on 3rd or 4th down would have to be whatever the necessary yardage is. Obviously, when you're dealing with a run and a long situation, it's hard to expect a running back to convert something like that. So you got to caveat that by saying 6 yards or more on any situation run is a successful run. So that's the way you look at it. You look at the 40%, and then you look on 1st down. You look at the 50% on 2nd down, 100% on 3rd or 4th down, or something that trumps it all is 6 yards on any carry.
Gotcha. He also says this is being nitpicky. Connor had to run near the goal line for a 1st down, but not a touchdown. I did not consider it successful, but he did get the 1st down. But that is qualified as a successful run, correct?
Right. If you run and you get the first, does it? What play was that?
It was near the goal line. I think it was the one on the drive where the Ebron touchdown, where they got down to the 1 and then backed up. I think that's the one he's talking about. He doesn't specify exactly which one it is, though.
Right. If you get a first down, because look, I mean, if it's 2nd and 6, or let's say it's 2nd and 2, and you pick anytime you achieve the first down, that's
Right.
obviously a successful play. 3rd and 1, if you pick that up, that's obviously a successful run there as well too. So it's always the yardage needed. Then you take the percentage of that depending on the down it is, and then 6 yards or more trumps everything. Is automatically a successful play. As far as whether or not, I'd have to go back and look at draws, but it's not uncommon for 2nd and long or 3rd and long, extremely long situations for a draw to maybe even get 6 yards. But in the grand scheme of things, do you really want to face 3rd and 12 or whatever,
Right, yeah. Generally, a draw on 2nd and 19, while maybe technically successful, rarely results in offensive success for the drive.
There is there's a great post. I think it's on Football Perspective by Chase. What's Chase last? Stewart? Is it Stewart? I think it's Chase
right.
Stewart. But he's got go Google Football Perspective successful running back rates on Football Perspective and all. And there's a good article that probably breaks it down even better than I do.
ODG Dorfman with the last quick question. Alex, you mentioned group chat after the game. I believe that was on our podcast today. Can you talk more about that? Is there a community to chat about the Steelers after games? I was talking about the Steelers Depot group DM. That was that conversation. But, of course, you can find on our Facebook page, on other Facebook groups. Our Steelers Depot website is a great community, and the game threads and the post-game threads, that is a really good place to talk with the rest of Steelers Nation. So if you want to have a community to chat with, us included, go on SteelersDepot.com on some of these big, first and second half game threads that Ross McCorkle's running, and you guys can talk about the game right there. Mark Leslie in the chat says, good evening, guys. Happy Monday. Hope everyone is well. Thanks for being here, Mark, and the rest of the people in the chat. Mutated Genome. McDonald makes some great blocks. How did Ebron do blocking? Also, DJ continues to make mistakes. Fair catch inside the 10. Should Ray remain the punt returner even if DJ is healthy? I thought both tight ends blocked well, especially in space and some of the pulling plays and gap schemes they were running. I thought they did a nice job overall with effort and execution. Just, again, leverage angles, especially for Ebron, is going to be the key there. For the question about Deontay Johnson as the punt returner, I'm with you. The mistakes are frustrating, but the pros still outweigh the cons. I think he's still making some of those mistakes, but still improving in a lot of ways. And he is just so darn electric when he gets the ball in his hands. He makes so many guys miss that I would rather try to teach him as much as possible. Still a second-year guy, came out early as a junior. I would rather teach him to correct those mistakes rather than pulling him off that unit entirely. At least that's where I'm at right now.
As far as McDonald goes, he's always been fairly reliable and above reliable on the move. It's the stuff where he's tethered to the end of the line of scrimmage as a tight end, where he's really deteriorated, since 2018 from what I've seen. So far this season, not as bad, obviously. Look, I love those counters. I love to see those guards and those tight ends on the move. And I think so far he's done a good job. Ebron, look, you don't ask him to stand in a garage and pretend to be a car, because that's not what he is. But with that said, the effort's there. You just like to see. So you can't set him up to fail in certain situations, like blocking those big base defensive ends.
Exactly. I agree there. By the people in the chat, I am Legend, James, Xander, Pablo. Thank you guys all for being here. Brenton717 says 3-0. Slumpy Boy says, should we get McFarland and McLeod involved more on jet sweeps and motion plays? I feel it would be a great mental advantage to have over a defense who will know they have utter speed to deal with. Dave, I know you've been in that camp for a little while now.
Yeah, and what you saw them do on Sunday that's going to show up on the tape reels of their opponents next and give them something else to think about. So now you can do certain things off of those kind of, especially in, I think it was 3 or 4 plays that McLeod and McFarland were both in the game for. We don't have the charting back yet, and the All-22 just went up yet, just before we got on here, so I haven't had a chance to look at that yet. But you're going to be able to do a lot of things off there. And yes, speed will definitely garner respect, and it's gonna be interesting now to see both Randy Fichtner and Matt Canada kind of build off of what they put out there on tape, especially with the 10 snaps that McFarland played and the 3 or 4, whatever that McLeod said. So yeah, you don't want to overdo it, but you can add a couple of wrinkles every week to those kind of things where you have both those guys in the game 3 or 4 times. And I think now, I think McFarland, I think everybody agrees that McFarland's earned at least 10 to 15 snaps against the Titans this next week, and probably another 6, 7, 8 touches.
Yeah, the more you can do, the more versatility you can have with your offense, the more you can stretch your defense both vertically and horizontally, the better off you're going to be. The more window dressing, the more things they have to prepare for, the better. And just utilizing all the guys you have active. Not you have a 48-man active roster. So I'm all for it. I still want to see them actually incorporate that motion more where they're throwing to these guys or they're running more jets to actually really give that real threat that has to be accounted for. So defenses have to respect it. But I do think you're seeing improvement in that regard. Certainly, you're feeling Matt Canada's influence. Nick Ritter, why is the secondary not playing well? Should we be concerned? I don't have a huge level of concern. They certainly could be playing better, but I don't want to say they're playing poorly either. It is tough to play defensive back in the NFL with, especially the quarterbacks you're going to face, notably Deshaun Watson, who's a great quarterback and showed it Sunday. But this defense, they create splash plays. They were much cleaner last week than they were against Denver, and that was a big teaching point that Mike Tomlin emphasized throughout the week. And there's still talent there. They're playing good run defense, and they're taking the football away overall. So again, I understand not quite as good as the prime and the peak of last season, but I don't think it was really reasonable to expect they were going to play at that level consistently for a full 16 games.
Yeah, this isn't Mel Blount in the 70s that you have, running around out there and all in today's game, with the rules and the contact and the way opposing offenses try to push the football down the field. Look, were there parts where it was disturbing? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to fix some of that stuff? I think the good thing is at least the bad came early, and then they were able to correct it against let's face it, more than an above average quarterback, and not bad weapons. Brandon Cooks has had some highlights against the Steelers, has he not, Alex?
Right. Yeah, a lot of speed on that Houston team.
Brandon Cooks for some reason might be one of those new Steeler killers. And Will Fuller, when he holds on to the football, has shown that he can do some things too. And I'm not worried, no, but my antenna did go up a little bit in that first half. You just hate to see those kind of explosive plays, that they give up 5 or 6 of those, and really to 5 different players there. Red zone stuff is going to happen. Occasionally. I mean, you're not going to shut teams out there. I think the biggest thing, though, was the stuff was the abundance of explosive plays that they gave up. So let's see what it's too early. I mean, we're 3 games in, and here's the best thing about it all: you're making mistakes out there, and you're 3-0.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, the most disappointing part was, and it goes into what you said about explosive plays, but the end of half drive that they gave up, that's a drive they just cannot give up. I mean, that one was a real backbreaker. Steelers go down and score on the touchdown to take the lead, and then Houston gets it right back. That one you just can't allow, but I'm not going to freak out. I will say, though, and I mentioned this on the podcast, and I'll probably tweet it out tomorrow or something, I do want to see splash plays from the safeties, and usually that is focused at Terrell Edmonds, but Minka Fitzpatrick has not had a turnover at all, forced fumble or interception in 10 games, and so I want that streak to end sooner than later. Samantha Eckhorn, how you doing, Samantha? What's the snap count been for the outside linebackers? Has there been a steady rotation for this year? There has been a pretty consistent rotation. Let me pull up the snap counts for you that Dave posted this morning and get you the exact numbers on those. And the numbers are pretty light considering Houston only had 47 offensive plays Sunday. But so you're seeing Watupri get the majority of snaps still, obviously, but you are seeing a rotation. Highsmith had 8 and Adaney had 6. Dupree with 41 and Watt with 39. So just enough for rotation to give those guys a bit of a breather.
Yeah, I think somewhere it's been hovering around about 15 to 20% for those backup outside linebackers, as far as, or 13 to 15%, somewhere around in there as far as percentage play. And look, I mean, the best thing about it is there weren't many steps in that second half there. This should be a fairly well rested defense going into this road game against the Titans in week 4. So we'll see.
Absolutely, and if you're looking at screen right now, why Minka Fitzpatrick has 3 offensive snaps, he was the deep back for the victory formation, replacing Chase Claypool. I don't know why Claypool wasn't out there, but no big deal. All right, next question here. I am Legend 74. Do you think Jalen Samuels could be a game day inactive in the near future? Maybe. Obviously, we're going to see McFarland continue to chip away and increase his role, which decreases Samuels' role. But I still think Samuels is going to get a hat more often than not, just because they do, and right or wrong, this is how they view him. They like him in that potential no huddle, 2-minute drill situation. If Connor needs a break or if he's not available for some reason as that pass catching type of back. I don't think he's a particularly good receiver. I think that's overstated and overrated, but they like him in that capacity. It's something where Snell and McFarland aren't going to be as strong yet. So I still think Samuels gets a hat, but his snap count and his role in the offense may continue to be reduced.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I mean, I could visualize, Connor, Snell, and McFarland and Watt. Now, obviously, right now, Watt's status being up in the air and not being out there on special teams. That probably plays in Jalen Samuels' favor to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Samuels is a huge special teams contributor. I think only like about half the special team snaps against the Texans there. So it's not out of the question that Samuels loses a hat a couple times this season, for whatever reason, especially as McFarland gets a little bit more entrenched in this thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Not impossible, but I'm just not expecting it right now, especially with the Derek Watt injury. We'll see what they do in response to that. Solar verse 6, I think Highsmith is undersized and looked movable. He was responsible for the 2-yard touchdown. Are you concerned about that? I'm not ready to say 100% he was responsible for that. I want to go back and see it on the All-22 whenever I get a chance here in a little bit. It did feel like he got washed, but I'm not sure what his gap responsibility was. And he did have the tackle for loss in that game as well. So he did, he was undersized when he was playing a 3-4 base end at Charlotte, but I think he's a pretty physical dude that's going to continue to get stronger, and I think he's got a good home where he's at right now.
We've become so spoiled over the years with these outside linebackers.
Very
from
true.
James Harrison, was just to Woodley, to Bud Dupree. Even though Bud Dupree just now, coming into his own as a pass rusher the last couple seasons, Bud's always been fairly stout against the run. From not really necessarily, I don't remember as much from his rookie season, but second season on. Yeah, look, I pointed out the Highsmith thing, and I also pointed out on the podcast this morning, I thought he had a good rep later in the game for a tackle for loss. He's going to learn to play that better, and as Alex just said, he's going to get stronger. The good old jump from year 1 to year 2, you expect him to make. He seems very dedicated at it. I'm not worried right now. This is a rookie playing limited amount of snaps in the NFL against a lot better competition there. He's gonna have his miscues and especially in situations like that against the run. We'll just watch him. We'll see how he progresses from there. And I haven't had a chance to look at that one on all 22 either there. And even if it is his fault, like I said, he had a better rep later in the game.
Well said. Learning from your mistakes, that's the big key. And if that was his fault, he appeared to learn from his mistake. Patrick Donovan, currently we sit 7th in kick return yards. Is it Ray or Danny Smith or a mixture of both? What do you attribute the improvement in the kick return game to, Dave?
Catch ball, run fast.
Keeping it simple. I like it.
You know me. That's my special teams coaching. You got any gum for me now?
Danny Smith, he tried the mask last week and it didn't work for the gum chewing. He's back to the face shield now. So he's mixing up the look a little bit.
Look, run straight. That's my philosophy, and fast, and try to avoid tacklers. That's my special teams coaching. Look, I don't spend a lot of time studying that end of it, but it does look like there's less indecision,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, with these guys, especially with Ray. And the biggest thing too, always look, don't fair catch the football inside your 5, and there's certain instances where the ball's just too deep into the end zone. It does not make sense to bring it out. You're just better off taking the touchback there. And the big issue with Ray since he was signed, the biggest red flag on him was fumbling away the football on punts, which obviously he hasn't done yet. He's going to have a great chance of staying on this 53 all season as long as he does not turn the football over.
Yeah, he's running well. He's explosive. He gets vertical. He's actually a little stronger than what I would think. Ability to kind of stay on his feet, break tackles, has good balance. But I do think, obviously, it starts with blocking. You can have the Devin Hester back there, Josh Cribbs, whoever you want. If you can't block it up, you're not going to have a chance with that return guy. But the double teams are better. Maybe schematically, they're getting set up a little bit quicker. I have to do a deeper breakdown into some of the schematic potential differences, but I definitely think the execution on some of the double teams, guys sustaining their blocks, playing cleaner, have all contributed to that. So a welcome sight. Hope it continues. Will Fernandez, hey Dave and Alex, love you guys. Only Steelers podcast that keeps it real. You call them as you see them. You are homers, but tell the truth. I appreciate that, Will. Thanks for listening. Mark Leslie, I want a color rush jersey, but here in the UK can only seem to get a Juju one. Is it worth it considering this is possibly his last season? I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't buy. I'm sure that's not a very cheap jersey to buy. But as you said, you're taking the risk there. So would I buy a Juju jersey right now? I would not, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I don't know how long you can hold off, but you'll get your answer by about March.
Yeah, if you want to wait till March, Mark, and if he resigns or whatever, then buy one then. I haven't bought a jersey in forever, but if I do buy a jersey again, when I buy a jersey again, I'll get someone that's a former Steeler, a Troy, a Heath, someone that I don't have to worry about them, going all AB because something happened or they just left on bad terms or just didn't left the Steelers entirely for just free agent reasons. So I like the old school Steelers who are done and that can just always preserve that jersey and its I guess value forever. Let's see. Andrew B. Hey, everybody. Happy Victory Monday. Happy Victory Monday, Andrew. Patrick Donovan, how did Lawan's replacement look to y'all? I live in Middle Tennessee. And listen to the post game. They said he struggled and needed a lot of help from tight ends and running backs. I have not watched that tape yet. I know Lawan got hurt. You said he's not going to play against the Steelers?
I think that's the early word on that. And I watched the little snaps over there, and there was a lot of bitching going on about him. In that game. So look, I mean, they are going to be in a world of hurt over there at left tackle. That would have been. Hold on a minute here. Oh, Tice Sambrailo.
Okay, former Falcon.
Right. Who's got a little bit of experience there. Yeah, the few snaps that I saw weren't pretty, but he's got some experience. But he's definitely not Taylor Lewan.
Yeah, their tackle was going to be hurt, and they lost Conklin in the offseason. They lose Lawan. That's a big loss for sure. Lynn wins, YT, Steelers, Titans prediction, and you think Sean will get any time. I don't have a prediction right now when I watch through some Titans tape. Probably pick the Steelers because I think they can match up well with their run D against Derrick Henry, which will be the heart and soul of that Titans offense. And I assume that Sean Davis will get it any time, not without an injury. There's really been no role for him in sub-package right now with this team being as healthy as it is in the secondary.
Looks like Ty has got charged for 1 sack in that game.
Okay, good deal. Captain Nubs, is this going to be in the podcast or is it just a Q&A? This is going to go into podcast format where if you listen to the Terrible Podcast, this will not go into the Terrible Podcast, but you can listen to it there. You can listen to it on Steelers Depot. A lot of different ways you can see the archive and replay version of this live stream, Captain Nubs. Donald Nolan, do you see Trey Edmonds getting bumped up to handle fullback duties since Derek Watt will be out several weeks? Edmonds was technically a fullback. I know he got used there a little bit last season. He's done it in camp before, but really he'd be using Edmonds as a Watt replacement for special teams. And I don't think Edmonds is even that great of a special teamer. I know that's kind of been the calling card with him, but I really didn't think he was super effective there last year. But it is an option, to answer your question. It would not shock me if that's the move that they want to make, at least for a special teams boost.
Yeah, it is an option. It's not a great one. You're not going to have him out there a lot traditional fullback anyway. It's just not what he does. I mean, It's not his game. And I've always kind of thought he's been a little bit overrated special teams player myself there, but he's definitely not a great ball carrier option there. He's one of those guys that, kind of wondering how, if he's going to make it through this season. If they start needing some practice squad spots here. Personally, and this obviously depends on 100% on Roosevelt Nix and his health, I would see about getting him signed to that practice squad. And, look, I mean, we're already talking about maybe a place for his helmet to go in place of maybe a Jalen Samuels there. If Watt needed to go on IR for 3 weeks, that would be the perfect move to make. Will the Steelers go that route? I don't know. And obviously I don't know the full gamut of what Roosevelt Nix's health is right now. Merely putting Edmonds up, once again, if you put Edmonds up on the 53, you got to make room for him. So you would, I guess, be assuming that Watt would be going to IR for 3 weeks there. And even so, I don't want to see Trey Edmonds at fullback personally.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea either. I apologize if you hear the sirens in the background, fire whistles going off, because of course it's going off whenever we're doing one of these things. Yeah, Edmonds is possible. Sure, it's possible, but I personally would support the Rosie Nix idea more so than Edmonds coming up. We'll see what happens. Watt may not even go on IR. I mean, it's up in the air right now. And if they want to not put Watt on IR from a special team standpoint, UG3 could slide into that role and play quite a bit on special teams. Andres, is Vince Williams playing up to his current contract through 3 weeks? I would say so, as a guy with 8 tackles for loss, the most in football, 2 sacks, steady run defense. He's getting paid a little bit, but not like $20 million. I think he's playing really good football right now.
Yeah, he's earning his keep for sure. The question becomes, will he be worth his keep next March?
Right.
That's the look. He plays downhill great. We point out all the time how and it's only a matter of time before they get him again in coverage. And even though that wheel route a couple of weeks ago was decent coverage, teams are going to start focusing in on him when he's on the field. So that's where the liability always has kind of been with Vince Williams coming out of college. It's not so much him. It's definitely not him against the run, that aspect of it, and him playing downhill. The question is what's going to happen when teams start attacking him more and more in coverage.
It's interesting, though. We had that big debate and kind of discussion about how they would use him this year. Would he be used like his 2018 self, or would they use more dime defense to kind of curtail Vince Williams snaps? And so far, through 3 weeks, the answer is the former, where he's really just kind of playing his normal snaps in situations like he did in 2018. They're not making any extra effort to go in the sub to try to keep him off the field. Dennis Sheridan, hi Alex and Dave. Do you know why some of our local commentators are predicting a loss to the Titans after our adjustment Sunday? I'm feeling pretty good about our ability to win tough games right now. I'm not sure who predicted this game. I haven't listened to any of that stuff, and I probably won't end up doing so, to be honest with you, Dennis. Maybe they're just kind of playing the odds and say they're due for a loss. That kind of intangible way of thinking about it. But I think that yesterday's win was pretty impressive, considering get down in a 14-3 hole against a really good quarterback that's carving you up, and to really take control of that second half, I think says a lot about this team.
I'm guessing not a lot of film analysis is going into any of that, right?
I'm going to take a stab at it and say you're right.
137 total defensive snaps for Vince through 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be on pace for 700-ish. Like he did in 2018. I mean, they're not really changing that snap count at all. Ben Johnston, Jalen Samuels as fullback for a couple weeks. LOL. Yeah, they tried to make a tight end. I'm sure Sam will try to make him a fullback. K. Jackson, Pittsburgh. Still no sign of UG3, but there was an Anthony McFarland sighting, which was nice to see. Could UG3 be next? Like we said, if Watt is down and they just say, we're not even going to try to use a fullback, or we'll use Vance or something like that, then UG3 could get the hat up. But until that point, I think UG3 is going to be inactive until there are more injuries on the pile.
And if UG3 dresses, it's special teams only, folks. That's barring injury. That's it.
Well, if Bush were to go down, who's next man up?
I'd still would think they'd find a way to put Spillane out there.
Or Marcus Allen. I guess they could put Marcus
Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, be interesting, though. Hopefully we don't have to answer that question, of course, with Devin Bush. How do you think Devin Bush has played? Because there's been some criticism of him through 3 weeks.
Probably not as impactful as you'd like him to be, but other than the stuff against Fant, not so much negative, I don't think. I mean, heck, this team's been good against the run, man.
Very good. I got an article in the morning. This team's been very good against the run.
And I haven't seen, as far as all 22 in gap integrity, I haven't seen much to be worried about, really. So I just the impactful plays. You're not seeing those kind of shooting into the backfield Ryan Shazier type plays, but that wasn't his. Remember that big conversation you and I had pre-draft? Probably one of the better pre-draft breakdowns of players that we've done on this podcast together. The one on him and Uche and the Alabama kid and a few others. But I thought the conversation we had about Bush pre-draft was phenomenal. And one of the things that really stuck out to me the most, I think, about Bush was impactful plays behind the line of scrimmage. Now he is, the speed and all. A lot of the a lot of the stuff that showed up on tape with him in a positive manner was the sideline to sideline stuff. And we saw that a lot during his rookie season. I remember you pointed out quite a bit on Twitter and in some film studies and all like that. I think the thing that we don't see that we saw a little bit more obviously from Ryan Shazier was that penetration, that speed into the gap, but that's just not his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've seen some of it, not to the extent of Shazier, of course. But maybe that'll come with more time. Shazier wasn't obviously. I still think Bush is further ahead in his career than where Shazier was. Now Shazier played through some injuries, and that some context worth mentioning. Yeah, I don't think Bush has played as bad as some people have made it out to be. Again, I think just being the every down guy, being the central hub of communication, is huge steps for him, and he seems to be responding well in that regard from a conditioning standpoint and just a down and down consistency standpoint. So I've been happy with Devin Bush through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think he warrants any criticism or anything like that, right? Right? It's just he's not, you're just not seeing him make hugely impactful plays.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the guys he's got playing in front of him, for Christ's sake.
They're making all the plays.
I mean, those guys. I mean, this isn't the old two gap. Let Lawrence Timmons run and chase, or run and hit. This is an entirely different defense from what Steeler fans, from 10 years ago, were kind of used to. This is more the front, the front penetrating more, and usually they're doing a good job of cleaning it up on themselves, and that's probably resulting in Bush getting a lot of half tackles and assistance tackles instead of full tackles.
Exactly, that's a great point. Yeah, Cam Hayward, Tuitt are making the money they're making. They're not doing that just to take on a guard in the center. They're doing that to make some impact plays for sure. Mark Leslie, has the pass interference penalty changed? I feel in the games I've watched there has been more than usual questionable calls. I don't have a good way to quantify that. I have to look at some numbers on that. I think we're always talking about PI calls and if they're valid or not, though I think that just comes with the territory of evaluating officials from afar.
I think Claypool got a bit of a gift there yesterday.
Mm-hmm. On that fourth down play, right?
Whatever the one was down the middle of the field there, was that third or fourth down?
Thought it was fourth. It might have been third, but either way, yeah, I think he ran into, was that Roby?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that would have been a 4th and 1.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, though, Mark, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about officials and penalties. I follow Football Zebras on Twitter, and that's the extent of my keeping up with official-related things. K. Jackson, Pittsburgh, do you have an issue, speaking of throwing the deep ball on third or fourth or short, do you have an issue with the Steelers throwing the ball 30 yards down the field on 3rd and 1? They did do better in the second half of the game for a more ball control offense. I certainly agree with that latter sentence, K. Jackson. No, I don't have an issue with it. The intention of that play is not necessarily to go deep. I think there was an underneath option that Ben looked for that wasn't open first. We'll have to check the all-22 tape. But if the first option isn't there, usually on those play action situations, it's like a two-man route. So you got something shallow, and if it's not there, you got something deep, and you better just chuck it in, try to let your guy make a play. So I don't think that was the design of the play, but it just kind of what it came down to, and the option Ben had.
When has Ben Roethlisberger ever been shy about seeing man single high on third and 1 or 3rd and 2 and going deep, and he's got a pretty decent track record. Probably not. So I just wrote about the deep balls in that game against the Texans. Not anything to get worried about just yet, but obviously he didn't complete any deep passes more than 15 yards down the field, unless you maybe want to consider the Eric Ebron touchdown. Whether you consider that 5 or 6 yards deep into the end zone, measuring that thing out to 16 yards or not. He is going to have to start dialing in this deep ball at some point. Because there should be opportunities here pretty soon with these opposing defenses probably being a little bit more concerned about the Steelers' run, and maybe going to set up some opportunities where there's going to be some single high man situations that we saw him take advantage of in the Claypool pass a couple of games ago there down the sideline. So if they're going to give that to you, you got to be able to hit them.
Agreed, 100%. I am Legend 74. Is it shocking the low number of holding penalties the Steelers D-line has been able to draw? Again, I don't really focus on that a whole lot. Short answer to that question is no. If the D-line wasn't playing well, maybe they weren't forcing some of those calls, that would be a stacking issue where you have bad play without calls. But this D-line's eating. They're doing a great job, so I'm very happy with the D-line, and I'm not worried about the lack of holding calls. Zach, early draft talk, but after 3 weeks, which position do you see Pittsburgh targeting in round 1? I don't know if the conversation has changed too terribly much from the beginning of the year. It's going to be partially and largely dependent on still who stays and who goes. I'm still kind of sticking with either offensive tackle or tight end, but we got a ways to go, Zach.
Yeah, that's where I haven't shifted off of that yet either. Especially where I hope and think that they might draft,
Right.
much later in the first round there. Uh, yeah, I don't think it'll be a quarterback, that's for sure. For people asking that, I don't think it'll be a first round wide receiver either. I don't think it'll obviously be a guard at this point. Could it be a center? Possible, but probably unlikely. I think it's going to be, from where I sit right now, tight end or tackle would be my guess.
We mentioned, I think, in last Monday's stream, Jesse James. He caught a touchdown Sunday against Detroit on a 4th and 1, but I think they're going to cut him, and I'd bring him back if I'm Pittsburgh. A bunch of drama in Pittsburgh. Do you think the Steelers defense on first glance matchups well against the Titans offense? I do, at first glance at least. Again, the Titans, of course, they're going to run through Derrick Henry, who, as of this recording, leads the NFL in rushing yards with 319. The Steelers have the best run defense in football in both yards and yards per carry allowed. So I think on paper that matches up well with what the Titans are trying to do and the Steelers' ability to stop what the Titans are trying to do.
Man, you take that running game out if you jump on them real quick. That's something that seems like we talk about every other week, and it never comes to fruition. But if they could ever jump on a team right out of shoot, get a couple scores up on them, it sure does seem to stymie the running game, that and shutting down the running game. I mean, everybody was kind of scared about Barkley going into that Giants game, and they instantly took. I mean, you got to know going into this thing that's going to be their focus. Once again, is to shut down the running game and make Tannehill, beat you down the field with his arm there. So, and we'll see what the health of their wide receivers and all are.
Right, A.J. Brown dealing with that bone bruise in his knee. I have an article for the morning on Steelers Depot, and let me just say I will categorize, at least statistically, the Steelers' run defense as historically good through the first 3 games. So check that article out in the morning. ODG Dorkman, how does a quarterback work on the deep ball? Is it all about timing? Seems like he has the zip on the out throws. That's a good question. I don't know if I have a great succinct answer for you, ODG. I would say timing and chemistry and feel for a receiver's release and just kind of his speed and where he likes the football and stuff like that. So I think there is just kind of a rhythm and rust and timing factor to it. I'm sure there is some deeper technical stuff that I would be ill-equipped to answer, but any thoughts, Dave?
Repeat the question again.
How does a quarterback work on the deep ball? Is it all about timing? How does Ben get better at the deep ball?
Oh, yeah, I think timing obviously has a lot to do with it. I mean, we've heard Ben talk over the years about, underthrowing more so than overthrowing,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen that time and time again. I would just think timing has a lot to do with it, obviously, yeah, and getting to know and what shoulder and what degree of loft to put on it there. I mean, you got to work on that kind of stuff in practice, obviously.
Yep, I agree. Justin A., do you think the Steelers are blitzing way too often? Again, I had the numbers. I should have pulled them up before the stream. They blitzed a lot less against Houston. I do not know the exact number, but they were at over 60% through the first 2 weeks. I'm going to guess they were more at like 25 to 33% against Houston. So they're adjusting. They're not having the same game plan every week, which is the right and logical approach to take. So, no, I think they have a good mix and match. Against worse quarterbacks, they're going to bring more pressure. Against better quarterbacks, they will start kind of pulling back at least a little bit and be a little safer and a little more selective about how and how many they blitz. Alex Flores, do you bring Roosevelt in for a few games? I would not be mad about it, I guess. If you want to do that, though, the sooner the better, because he's got to go through COVID testing, and that takes a couple of days to do. So you got to make that happen by like tomorrow, probably, if that's the approach you want to take. I am Legend 74. Overall thoughts on the punting game so far? Pretty meh. It's got to get better for sure. Colquitt had a pretty bad punt to start, but 3 games, relatively small sample size. His holding's actually been pretty good. At least bailed out one bad snap by Canada. So it's been okay so far. Patrick Donovan, how many IR players can you bring back this year? It's unlimited this year, right? Am I wrong on that?
Mm-hmm.
It's unlimited?
Okay. Yeah.
And the minimum is 3 games. So is that the IR stuff, is that because of COVID or is that just a rule
Yeah,
change?
they wanted it because it's in place this year because of COVID.
Okay. Do you think it might stick? Because I'm sure teams are going to want it to stick.
I think after having it this year, I think teams are going to want it to stick from a competitive competitive advantage, just from a competitive standpoint,
Yeah.
because you would like to either that or you're going to have to expand your rosters, from 53 to help you accommodate, because look, they're in the past, players have had to go on IR for what, if they're going to be designated return, they had to miss 8 weeks or 8 games, and you got to decide which guy, do you want to put this guy on, and you can only have a couple come from the return list. It works against teams, I think. Now, obviously, you don't want to just use it as a stockpile room,
Mm-hmm.
and teams stockpile players there.
True.
Maybe there'll be some sort of happy medium of 5 weeks or
True.
something,
That's a
and
good
then
point.
on unlimited returns. But I think for the COVID thing and all like that, that's where the 3 weeks. You just don't want people stockpiling players with injuries, kind of thing. If they could just, it makes it seem like they're carrying an elongated roster, if you will.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe the happy medium, like you said, is the way to go. I agree with you there. Mark Leslie, 3 games and 3 wins. Alex, are you now putting your money on the Steelers to win it all? I know Dave's been in that camp since the season began. Am I there yet? No, not quite yet. I mean, I still think that Baltimore and KC and those teams are still the standouts of the AFC. And can this offense really have that type of firepower? I think they're capable of that, but on a given Sunday, I'm not quite there yet. So I still think this team's got a really good roster. They of course can compete. I'm happy with the performance that they've had so far. They're gonna definitely be a big threat and one of the favorites in the AFC. But are they the favorite yet? I'm still not there. Let's see week 7 against Baltimore, see how they do, and go from there. Slumpy boys, Minka playing bad, or our quarterbacks really just throwing away from him? I would not say Minka's playing bad. What say you, Dave?
No, I mean, how many times they've been throwing at him? He obviously had how many, one pass interference penalty, I think, so far,
Yeah, versus
on
Denver.
him.
Yeah, but I don't think it's been bad.
No, I think teams, are just more than anything, just trying to stay away from him.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to rotate. I know Minka had some snaps where he rotated down more than usual last week. I think they're trying to continue that, but yeah, of course you want to see some more splash, but hopefully that will come with time. ODG Dorkman with a super chat. Thank you so much for this. Caps off my Steelers weekend. I am learning a lot. You both are great. Thank you so much for the super chat, Dave, and I really appreciate it.
I've got him targeted 4 times through 3 games, 3 receptions, 41 yards.
Okay. And the one I know I charted him against Houston was on a 3rd and 26 or something where they just threw underneath and make a tackle to catch. His tackling
Okay.
has still been really good. His tackling has been excellent, and that's something that's underrated about his game. All right, look,
So I mean, he is the second least targeted player in the secondary that's played snaps. The least targeted is Cameron Sutton, but he's only played 42 coverage snaps as opposed to Minka, which is obviously the most on a team with 128 coverage snaps.
there you go. Good stats there for sure. F War 83, crazy or not? Buckle up, Dave, for this one. Using TJ Watt at tight end in some goal to go situations like the Pats use Mike Vrabel, also a former Steeler. He has some experience playing the position in college, if I remember correctly, and I think he's got the ability to do it. Watt was a tight end initially at Wisconsin. Would you use him in goal line situations, Dave?
Oh no,
I
no.
think that's the right answer. I like where your head is at. I like the Vrabel shout out there, but no, we got you signed Ebron for a reason. Use him in goal to go situations. Patrick Donovan went in heavy 13 personnel. I noticed Claypool is the lone receiver to merit. Makes a lot of sense given the size, speed, physicality. Do y'all agree? Yes, Patrick, we talked about that on the podcast today. I think it makes sense for Claypool as the blocker, the big body, and the vertical threat. And as you said, Dave, on the podcast, to kind of give Juju a bit of a breather as well.
Right, try to get Juju off the field every opportunity. I mean, Juju's a physical player; he could definitely handle that role. But Claypool can handle those kind of extra snaps there, and give the ability to be consistent with the personnel. Let you run a few other wrinkles off that maybe down the line. So one of these times they're going to go deep out of it.
Yep, I think so. I think they tried to once Sunday, and I think Ben passed it up, or I forget what the scenario was. Let me go through. Got a bunch of questions here I want to get to. Jay Kai, who should be the number 2 back? Again, I don't know. I think it'll be stratified as in a sense where Snell in short yardage, you still want him as the guy. McFarland more of a space player, so I don't know if you want to have a clear cut number 2. It may just depend on the situation and the play call and whatever the scenario is. To be honest with you, Jai. Let me find another question. Glock Lesnar, why did they give Jalen Samuels a carry on 3rd and 1 in the red zone? A very good question. I do not have a good answer for you.
We talked about that this morning. Yeah, that was one of our pet peeves. We understand trying to maybe discipline Benny Snell, but let's not do it. Let's not do it that way. There, that was one of the few issues that I had, especially with the offense in the first half. There, short yard situation. You bring a guy in that's not known to be a short yard. I would have much rather, if you're going to do something like that, put Benny Snell in the game along with Derek White and do the fullback lead right up the middle there. They would never see that coming. So, yeah, that wasn't a great choice there. And obviously, it's results bias. We're not going to talk about it at all, probably, if they get the first down there, but they didn't.
I thought Derek White was getting a fullback dive on the 1 goal line snap. I was kind of mad they didn't give him the football there, but. Oh, well, they scored on that drive anyway. K. Jackson, Pittsburgh. The Steelers seem to play the run better this year than last year with Javon Hargrave. Is this because of Tuitt's return, Alu play, or scheme? Probably all the above. I mean, I think just making an effort to play. They're downhill, the physical. That's been a central focus, shutting down Barkley, making teams one-dimensional. Alu has found the fountain of youth, beating up on some really either young or inexperienced to the position centers in week 1, week 2. I don't know. I just think they're just really playing sound, fundamental defense with some great personnel up front.
And they weren't bad against the run last year. They just gave up a couple, untimely explosive plays, especially against, that one against Seattle will forever stick in my brain with Chicolo out there on the edge on that one. But that being said, they weren't awful, obviously, against the run last year. Now this year they've been a whole hell. I mean, they've and Alex will write has this coming, I think, in an article tomorrow.
Yeah, for the morning.
On the run defense.
Yeah, that'll kind of put that into context about how good it's been, because it has been very good through 3 weeks. There will be regression. It will not be this good, though, just for the record. Andre said, if Deontay can't play, who takes his spot when they're in 2 receiver sets? I do want to double-check that when I go back through the film from the Texans game, but probably Juju at the X and a split between James and Claypool at the Z is my guess at it.
Mm-hmm. And they might try to rotate. And that's another thing that our charting will show is how much they move those guys around to all the positions there, but Juju probably best. You can fit Claypool probably a lot better in that big slot, role.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be very interesting. But as you said, they're doing a lot of mixing and matching, and so as you said, kudos to Ike Hilliard for getting those guys ready. A lot of young guys there that are trying to play some new spots.
Kudos to Chase Claypool for him talking about basically walking those walkthroughs, having that playbook and going over it with his wide receiver coach. I mean, you can tell that this kid spent a lot of time making sure he had that playbook digested before showing up at training camp. And it's not easy. That's not easy for him to do, not having those OTAs and mini camps and all like that. So it really speaks volumes about his off-season dedication, that he's involved as much as he is in this offense. Sure, the Deontay Johnson injury helped give him some more snaps on Sunday there, but overall, they're not afraid to put him. He's not just the red zone guy right now.
Yeah, he said to grow up quickly. Deontay had to do that last year. It's how it goes for a lot of these rookies. Kevin Dotson did the same, and it starts with conditioning for Claypool. You can have all the talent and all the knowledge in the world if you're not physically conditioned to take on 61 snaps plus special team. It doesn't really matter what else you can do and how much you know or don't know. And so kudos to Claypool, because that's where it starts for a guy like that. A bunch of drama in Pittsburgh. Best Steelers podcast. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate your kind words. Let me find some.
Is that what is his username? That keeps throwing me off. People talking about all this drama. I think I'm missing something.
Yeah, his username is a bunch of drama in Pittsburgh. That one, circa 2018. I'm guessing is when you made that account there. Let's see. Some talk about Le'Veon Bell. I'm not sure where that one is going, to be honest with you. Mark Leslie says my research is correct. The Steelers beat the Titans. It'll be the first time they have started a season 4-0 since 1979. You are correct, Mark, and let's hope they finish 2020 the way they finished 1979. with a Super
And
Bowl.
78.
And 78. And 73? Did you say 73? They also did it? Okay, very cool. Alex Flores, who is your team MVP up to date? Man, that is a good question. Ben's an easy answer, obviously. If I made you choose somebody other than Ben, who would you go with, Dave?
That's a good one. I don't know.
Team
Juju's been
Watt.
Juju or Watt, probably.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's a very good question. The good thing is there's a lot of answers there, which is nice to have. I might lean Watt, but yeah, that's a very good question, Alex. Mutated Genome has a super chat. Stan and Charlie gave Steelers Depot a shout out during the postgame show. They saw your post about the turnover streak coming to an end. Hallelujah. Yeah, that's very cool that Stan and Charlie did that. And yeah, 25 straight games with a turnover. That streak finally ended yesterday. And yeah, amen to that for sure. So thank you for the super chat, Mutated Genome. Let me scroll back up here to where the questions were at because lost my place here for a moment. Young Whitey, do you think we should use Chase Claypool more than what we are? I mean, the dude has 61 snaps, so I think he's getting a lot of burn out there. And the targets will come, so I'm happy with his use so far. Let's see. Trying to scroll through some more questions. About 10 minutes left here before we get off. Again, we're here every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Big conversation about Le'Veon Bell. I'm going to just go past that. Todd Williams. Hey guys. Hope all is well. Doing well, Todd. Thanks for being here. Does the O-line coach deserve some credit? It seems no matter who gets plugged in, they play well. Good point, Todd. Sean Surratt in the second year. Definitely some struggles last season, especially the last months of last season. But Surratt, I think that group as a whole have been ready. Again, young guys stepping up, whether that's Dotson, Okorafor. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Todd, about Sean Surratt. Let's see. Oh my goodness, there's been some crazy chats here. I'm just trying to scroll down through the questions. Is Chuks doing well? Yeah, I thought Okorafor had that's the guy that deserves a game ball for shutting down JJ Watt like that. So I think he's doing really well. And
I'm interested in looking at his run blocking snaps. Obviously I think he did good pass protection. I'm interested to look at his run blocking snaps on the All-22.
Has your opinion in terms of his future changed? Because when he lost the battle, we sat there and went, well, if he can't win the right tackle battle now, he may never be a starter. But this is a guy that could have staying power either on the right or the left side if this is his final season.
Well, I mean, he's got one season after this, though.
Right, but in terms of just what his role will be in 2021,
I think right now you don't mess with something that ain't broke. So I would be more apt to leave him on the right side right now. Obviously, we'll see how the rest of the season, but makes you wonder how the heck he lost the damn tackle battle right now. The way he's playing right now. But obviously, a lot of season left to go. But I think he's secured himself, a spot that he could be a potential starter at one of the two spots next year, depending on all what transpires there. But I'm not ready to say that he's ready to flip over to the left side yet. I haven't seen enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I just wondering if your opinion might have changed at all from where we started the year to where we're at now. But you're right. He's playing well at right tackle, and let's just evaluate that and think about next year a little bit later on. Chan Yang, did you notice the high number of no calls on holdings from the O-line, i.e. TJ Watt looks like he got held so many times this season? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to
miss. There was one in the second half that I notated, of him getting tackled down. That'll stick out on the All-22.
For sure. But, I mean, that's going to come with the territory with Watt, the threat that he is, and winning with speed off the edge. He's going to get held sometimes. Sometimes they'll call it. Sometimes they won't. The ebb and flow of the season. Mark Leslie, other than Ben, do you think anyone on this roster will go on to a Hall of Fame career? Very good question. DeCastro is the first name that comes to mind when I think about potential Hall of Fame candidates in terms of, really having good odds if they retired today. TJ Watt, of course, could be on that path. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Pouncey. Center's usually tough road sometimes. Mm-hmm. Guards obviously a tough road as well. But and then Watt. I mean, if he keeps on that pace that he's on, that shouldn't be an issue. But it's a little bit too early to be talking about that. DeCastro is going to be an interesting case here. Obviously can't continue to miss games. And what he missed 2 last year with the hand, and then now he's already missed 2 this year. And last year he didn't make All Pro, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
of probably because of the missed games. So you gotta stack them all pros, man. That's kind of the prerequisite, I think, with these things. That's of course with these sports writers nowadays. I think that's kind of what they look at, all pros and Pro Bowls. So I like the Castro's chances, and I think Pouncey has a remote chance.
Spencer asked about Hayward. Can Hayward get in the Hall of Fame? I think it's a little late in his career
It's
for the way he's
tough.
turned it on. Had he had his production from the start of his career, maybe, but I don't like the odds right now.
And the whole position change and not because of the front kind of front that he
Mm-hmm.
plays in, man, it makes it tough if they don't have a bazillion sacks.
Right.
That I'd have to say no, but he damn sure has been playing good the last couple seasons.
Yeah, had he not, like you said, the position being called a DN instead of a D tackle that hurt him because he was getting compared to 4-3 defensive ends, rush ends. Had he not sat for the first 2 years of his career essentially behind Aaron Smith and Brett Kiesel, had he gotten to play right away and have that production associated with it, maybe, but just don't think it's going to be enough for Hayward. But definitely a future Steelers Hall of Honor. I'll give you that for sure.
Mm.
And did you see Troy's letter he had in the Hall of
Yeah,
Honor? Very
yeah.
good stuff from Troy. Usually doesn't get into those personal stories like that, so it was kind of cool to hear him talk about that stuff. Very cool. Let's see. Lucky1729 says, I'm predicting 3 interceptions, 2 from Minka, 1 from Hayden. I hope you are right. He
All
says
right, sign us up.
Says you heard it here first. Slumpy Boy, predictions for tonight. I had Baltimore, you had KC, right? I think that's how we picked that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Brian asked Tomlin for the Hall of Fame. That's interesting. Tomlin for
Tomlin's got to win a couple more.
Yeah. How many coaches have made the Hall of Fame with 1 ring? I know he's been to 2.
Well, I mean, obviously Cower, right?
Yeah, Cowher. Well, he got in on that special.
Right.
Obviously, like, I have to look at the list. I know I looked at it a
He's
while
got to
back.
win at least one more.
You
He's got
think?
to win at least one more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll have to look that up.
This year might be his best chance to do that for the next 2 or 3.
You're not wrong about that for sure. It's a good question. Yeah, I think Tomlin. I'll have to do some research into that. How many coaches have made it with 1 ring and 2 appearances? It's a very good question, Tom or Brian, I should say. Mutated Genome, Alex, how did you cost the end of coordinator's corner? Funny story about that. That all comes from the Tyler Eifert. We're preparing for Eifert, even though he was on IR for like the past 2 months, and when I wrote that day, I mean, I saw that story at like 7:30 in the evening, and I scheduled that for the next morning, thinking, okay, this will be kind of have a laugh in the Pittsburgh circle kind of things. But I had no idea it was going to become like the national story that it became, and that thing got pretty crazy pretty quickly.
Yeah, we were the meddling kids of the
Mm-hmm.
Scooby Doo. And that always seems to be the story when we were accused of being the meddling kids. Steelers Depot has always been accused of being that. So look, we just call it as we see it,
And now there's no more coordinator's corner, which I'm now mad about because I loved hearing from Danny Smith, and I don't get to do that very often anymore. Oh well. 2 more questions here. One from Todd, who says, 1 more question. Anyway, we keep Hilton next year. It's just going to be so expensive. Some of these slot corners are getting paid close to $10 million per year, and Hilton might not touch that, but he's not going to be far off. So I think it's much more likely they bring back Sutton, who's got a similar skill set, but at a fraction of the price.
And if you did keep Hilton, which one do you want to get rid of, Nelson or Hayden? Even though they're both outside guys, that's probably what it would take to kind of get that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would probably have to dump Hayden and save 7-8 million, whatever his cap charge, whatever you would save on that to kind of put towards. I hate to see him go, but I just don't see right now how they can keep him.
What about Sutton? Any chance Sutton comes back?
Man, if I'm him, I can't wait to test free agency.
Do you think he'll have a hot market?
We'll see. I mean, it'll only go up, I think, from this point of view. I mean, obviously, if there's an injury and he's able to play more, maybe not. But I mean, he'd be foolish to sign a long-term deal if he does resign with the Steelers.
Yeah.
He'd probably be better served to sign a 1 or 2 year deal. I mean, these guys, you don't want to get yourself where you're locked in and you can't cash in. That's really been the story of Hilton so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
A victim of being an undrafted free agent, and Sutton was drafted, so the pedigree's there. He just hadn't got a chance to play. When he has played, the tape hasn't looked bad. So there's a chance, but it's minuscule.
Yeah, the last 2 years have been really good for Cam Sutton. Jonathan Mason makes a good point about Hayden. If you buy into the PFF stuff, Hayden is PFF's number one corner in coverage, which I would not agree with that assessment. But that's what PFF says: number one corner in coverage. Darkshine the Kid, the last question we'll get here today. What would it take to keep Bud? That would take divine intervention. It's just not going to happen. Bud's going to be playing somewhere else next season.
Yeah.
He's going to make 17 million. It's probably like a floor, and I think he can get 20 million per season because he's just been phenomenal this season, and pass rushers get paid. Just how it goes. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the chat for today. Appreciate everybody being here. Had a really good crowd on hand. A lot of great questions. Steelers 3-0. Hopefully, when we come back next Monday, we'll be talking about a 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers team after they face the Tennessee Titans. Enjoy the thrilling Monday Night Football game tonight. Again, thank you all for the questions and super chats. And Dave Bryan, as always, thank you for being here alongside with us.
Yeah, appreciate everybody showing up. If you're bored, go to SteelersDepot.com tonight. Fixing to put the discussion thread up for the Monday night game between the Chiefs and Ravens. Welcome to get in there and chat with all the people in there as well, too. Should be a decent crowd in there with it being the Baltimore Ravens playing tonight as well, too. And thank you once again for everybody for showing up, and peace and love.
Yep, thank you guys. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Steelers Depot. Check us out on SteelersDepot.com and the Terrible Podcast, the one up today where Dave and I recap everything that happened in Sunday's game. So we will be back in a week on Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and we'll talk to you soon.